Is sound testing. Testing for clarity. Hi, good evening, everyone. I hope my voice is clearly audible. You can simply raise your hands to confirm this. All right, great. So, guys, we are proceeding ahead with the discussions where we left in the previous previous weekend, right? And just to confirm once again, yesterday we had some technical glitch due to which we did not carry out our live sessions. Purely a doubt clearing session was held yesterday. Right. So today onwards, we are going to proceed ahead with the discussions. Right. And before we proceed ahead, let me just give you the answers to the homework that I provided in the last session. Right. I'll just share my screen. All right. So I hope everyone is able to see my screen now. All right. So basically, the first homework, let me see if I gave you any homework here or here. All right. So this is the first homework that I gave you. You need to calculate the tables up till 50, right? So let's say this is the table of 1 here. These are the table of 2 and 3. This I already have demonstrated in the previous sessions, right? So what I'll do here is I'll simply select these cells and I'll go towards the right. So this value will go on increasing itself, will go up till 50, right? Because we need to calculate the tables up till 50. So all right, like this, and we'll simply select and let me just highlight the borders here so that each of the rows and columns are clearly visible, right? So here what we need to do is we just use the product function, right? And we fixed the B4 cell, right? And B4 contains this 2 because we need to calculate the table of 2, right? In the similar way, here we fixed the C4, all right? So C4, since we fixed, so this will always take 3 and multiply this with every number from 1 to up till 20. All right. Now, in the similar way, since we have used this particular value, right? So what we'll be doing here is I'll simply make this change where instead of adding dollars before B and before 4, I'll add dollar only between the number that I want to keep fixed, right? So I'll simply remove B dollar sign from B and will simply fix the cell number 4 or the row number 4, right? So as I move towards the right, B4 will change to C4, C4 will change to D4, D4 will change to E4, and so on. This way, I'll be easily be able to create the tables, right? So I'll simply, let's say, double click here. This will not affect the columns, which is this particular column values, right? But as I move towards the right, right? So this is okay. So we also need to fix the A part here, right? It always has to take A5, right? So I'll simply add dollar before A. This way, we are basically fixing column number A, right? So this is taking this value, and as I move towards the right, these values will be intact as it is, right? And I'll simply, let's say, double click here. This will not change the value, but as I double click here, this will create the table of 5, right? In the similar way, if I double click here, this will create the table of 6, right? In the similar way, I'll simply drag and drop towards the right. Let's say I'll first keep it up till 20. right? So all these tables have been created. And once I, let's say, double click here, right? So these values have already been filled out. We can simply drag and drop up till 20, right? Okay, so this is this way, right? So here we have created the table of up till 10, right? So I hope this part is clear, right? We have already created tables up till 20, right? 20 into 20 is 400. And these are the exact values that we are getting. In the similar way, I'll simply, let's say, again, drag and drop this towards the right, and it will create the further tables. So I'll go up till 50, right? And I can simply drag and drop towards the bottom, and this will create the tables up till 50, right? In case you get these hashtags, simply expand the cell and you'll be able to see the values here. Right? So 20 into 50 is 1000. This way, all right. So this way, you can simply create the tables up till to 50. Right? Now, the second homework that I gave you is you have to calculate the squares and cubes of numbers from 1 to 100. Right? So this can also be easily done using the power function. I'll simply, let's say, create 1, 2, 3. We'll simply select the cells here, go up till 100. Right? So these are the numbers that we have created. Now we'll simply in the next cell, we'll simply use the calculate the squares here. And in this particular row, we'll be calculating the cubes. Right? So we'll simply use the power function. And in power function, I have to pass the number. So this is the number, right? And the power will be 2 in case of squares. Right? I can simply, let's say, double click here and all the squares can easily be calculated up till 100. Right? In the similar way, I can easily calculate the cubes here using the power function again. I'll use this number, this as a number, and 3 as the power so that I get the cube of the numbers. I'll simply, let's say, double click here. So these are the respective cubes of the numbers. Let's say the cube of 24 is 13,824. And the square of 24 is 576. Right? So this way, you can easily calculate these. So these are the homeworks that I gave you in the previous session. Right? And these are the solutions of this. All right. So I hope this is very easy to go and everyone was able to solve this. Now, in today's session, what we are going to do is we are going to discuss about the percentiles. Right. So here we'll be discussing about the percentiles today. What percentiles are exactly and how they are calculated. Right. So guys, for everyone's information, I'm able to see everyone's message here. Right. I'll be answering your doubts from time to time. All right. And I'll only be answering the subject matter related doubts. All right. So in case any one of you is not able to hear me, please rejoin the session. The session is being broadcasted very fine from my end. There are no technical glitch or technical issues today. Right. So just to take votes here, you can simply raise your hands if my voice is clearly audible. All right. All right. All right. Okay. So yes, guys, my voice is clearly audible to everyone. Right. And there are no technical. Right. So there are no technical glitch today. All right. So proceeding ahead, we're discussing about. Right. So we'll be proceeding ahead with the discussions of percentiles here. So percentiles in simple terms, when I say about percentiles, it basically means when I divide any value, if you divide any value into 100 equal parts, then each part is called percentile. Right? When I divide any value into 100 equal parts, each part will be considered as a percentile, right? So this is the simplest possible definition of a percentile. Just to take an example, let's say I have the value of 2. Now, if I divide this 2 into 100 equal parts, when I divide this 2 into 100 equal parts, numbering, of course, starts from 0, right? So I'll be dividing 0 to 2 into 100 equal parts, right? So basically 100 equal intervals. Intervals will be created, right? And these intervals can be considered as parts, right? So I'll be dividing this 2 into 100 equal parts, where each value will be, or each interval will be of 0.02, right? So let's say if I calculate this, and since 0.02 is the difference, right? When you divide it into 100 equal parts, this will be the difference between each part. Difference between each part. When I say it is a difference between each part, the numbering will start from 0. It will go with 0.02, 0.04, 0.06, 0.08, and so on. All right. So these are basically the intervals 0 to 0.02. This is the first interval. 0.02 to 0.04 is the second interval. Just mentioned here. This is the first interval. Right. This is the second interval. In the similar way, I'll be getting from 0.04 to 0.06. This is the third interval, right? And so on, right? This will be carried out, so on, up till, let's say, 2, right? So if you subtract 0.02 from 2, the second last element that we'll be getting will be 1.98. Right? In the similar way, the third last element that we'll be getting will be 1.96. All right. So this interval will be calculated, let's say 1.96 to 1.98. This is your 99th interval. All right. And 1.98 to 2.00. This will be your 100th interval. Right. So each of these intervals can be considered as a percentile, right? Because we are dividing this into 100 equal parts. These are the 100 equal parts. right? And it is not necessary that the minimum value has to be 0, right? The minimum value could be the minimum value in your data. So when we'll be seeing the implementation of percentiles in Excel, I'll show you how the 0th percentile is calculated, right? So since this is the 0th interval, hence, if we calculate the 0th percentile here, 0th percentile, this is how it's written, percentile, right? Let me change the color here. Right, so this, when you calculate the 0th percentile, this will be the minimum value in your data, right? In the similar way, when you calculate the 100th percentile, this will be the maximum value in the data. All right, and minimum and maximum value can easily be calculated. I'll show you that as well, how minimum value can be calculated, how maximum value can be found out. Basically, it need not to be calculated, but it just needs to be found out. All right. So here, basically, we are calculating the intervals just to show you how percentiles are calculated. Let's say if I find the first percentile, when I find the first percentile, this will be 0.02, this value, right? This is your second percentile. This is your third percentile, and so on, right? So this purely depends, basically, this purely depends based on the difference between the intervals that we have. All right. And if you want to calculate the percentile formula is small n by capital N into 100, right? Where small n is, let's say if I want to find out the percentile of any given value in this particular scenario, the example that we have taken, right? This is the data, right? If I want to calculate, let's say we have some value 1 in between 1.00, right? So if I want to calculate the percentile of this value, I'll simply calculate small n by capital N. And what small n and capital N is? Small n is basically the number of elements below the given value, right? And capital N is the total number of elements in the data, right? So for example, let's say if you want to find out the percentile for 1, at what percentile 1 falls into, I'll simply find the total number of elements which is less than 1, right? The number of elements below a given number. So since 1 is the number of which I have to find the percentile, so I'll simply find out the total number of elements which is less than 1, right? So the total number of elements which is less than 1 will be 99. All right. And the total number of elements that we have is 100, right? Okay, sorry. This will be 49, right? And this will be multiplied by 100 again. So this 100 and 100 cancels out and will eventually get 49. So 1 falls at 49th percentile, right? 1 will fall at 49th percentile. All right, so, okay, so some of you are wondering how 49 came out. If you calculate the total number of elements, right? If you calculate the total number of elements starting from, let's say this is the first element, this is second, this is third, fourth, fifth, and so on. If you go up till 1, you'll eventually get 49 elements, right? And these 49 elements are basically the number of elements which is less than 1, right? So since statistics cannot be applied on smaller data, which is why the data has to be bigger to understand these statistical concepts. All right. Otherwise, what will happen for certain number of percentiles, you'll end up getting same values, right? This will, of course, create problem. Right. So basically, I'll just repeat this one more time. If I have to find out the percentile of 1 here, I'll simply find the total number of elements which is less than 1. All right. So just to take a simple scenario, let's find out the percentile of 0.06. Right. We'll simply find the percentile of 0.06. So to calculate the percentile of 0.06, I'll simply find the total number of elements which is less than 0.06. All right. And to get this in a better way, we can easily calculate. This is the first element, this is the second element, and this is the third element. We have only 3 elements which is less than 0.06. Now, so if I want to find out the percentile for 0.06, let's say I want to find out the percentile of 0.06. At what percentile this 0.06 falls into? Right? So basically, I'll calculate the total number of elements, which is less than 0.06, which is 3. The total number of elements that I have in my data, which is 100, I'll simply multiply this by 100 again. Right, so this 100 and 100 cancels out and we get third percentile. All right, so 0.06 falls at third percentile in this particular data. All right, so this is how you can calculate percentiles very easily. Right. So, okay, one of you here is asking whether percentiles value can end up getting in a negative number. So answer to this is yes, you can get percentile values in negative number as well. How you can get it? When your minimum value in the data is less than 1, or sorry, it is less than 0, right? Which is the minimum value itself is negative number. You can end up getting a few percentiles in negative values. All right. So yes, of course, the total number of elements can be more than 100, right? The total number of elements can be more than 100. It can be in thousands, it can be in tens of thousands. The concept here is you have to divide whatever range of value that you have into 100 equal parts. Let's say if your values start from 50, right? This is the minimum value in the data. And let's say the maximum value in the data is maybe 10,000, right? So in this particular case, the percentiles will be divided as per this data, right? So basically, we'll have to divide the range of 50 to 10,000, right, into 100 equal parts, right? So this is how you can end up getting. And at the same time, let's say if you have minimum value, which is less than 0, which itself is a negative number, then also you can end up getting a few percentiles in negative values, right? But you have to make sure that percentile value will always fall into the range of data. Let's say if I want to find out maybe the 10th percentile, there is basically no possibility that the value of 10th percentile, for this particular data will be beyond this range, right? Neither it will be less than 50, nor it will be more than 10,000, right? So minimum value is nothing but this is the 0th percentile, and maximum value is nothing but it is the 100th percentile. All right. So you don't have to calculate this manually. We have in data analysis, every tool that support data analysis, we have functions that is already embedded to calculate the percentiles. Right? So you do not have to calculate anything manually, right? If you had to do manually, basically, there is no importance of the analytical tools that we already have, right? So this is just for the conceptual understanding that I'm explaining this to you on pen and paper, right? Otherwise, I can directly show you in Excel how these percentiles are calculated, right? And this will basically give you more broader idea, and this is very easy to implement. This is just the concept that you need to understand, right? Which is why we are selecting and we are just having a demonstration of the data, right? So these are the percentiles here. Now, for certain range of percentiles, so yes, the data can be in millions of rows as well, right? So if you have data in millions of rows, again, you'll divide that data into 100 equal parts, right? And basically, the frequency of each data actually matters, right? It is into 100 equal parts when your data is equally distributed. When I say equally distributed, this basically means the difference between every alternative number is constant, right? For example, here, let's say this particular data that we just saw as the first example, right? Here, the data is equally distributed, which means the difference between every two consecutive numbers is constant. This is 0.02. The difference between 0.02 and 0.04 is also 0.02, right? Here also it is 0.02. Here also it's 0.02. This is the difference is constant, right? When the difference is constant, the percentiles are equally divided. Otherwise, if the difference is not constant, the percentiles are not equally divided, right? So this will help you to understand the data, and this will also help you to understand something called as outlier. What is an outlier in the data, right? Outlier is something that falls beyond the distribution of the data, right? So this you learn in machine learning what exactly is an outlier and how you can detect outlier in the data sets, right? So for this, you need to understand the concepts of percentiles and quartiles, right? So this is the percentiles. This is the percentile here. And there are a few, let's say, landmarks or milestones for percentiles that have special terms, right? So for example, let's say the 0th percentile. If you go conceptually, right? If you go conceptually, the 0th percentile is basically nothing, but it is the minimum value in your data. This will always be the minimum value in your data, right? At the same time, we have something called 100th percentile. This is the maximum value in the data, right? Now, the next milestone after 0th percentile is basically the 25th percentile, right? We can divide 100 percentiles into 4 equal parts. And each part is called a quartile. Each part is called a quartile, right? So the 25th percentile that you have here, this is called your first quartile, right? At the same time, we have the 50th percentile, which is called as the second quartile. Then we have the 75th percentile. Guys, I hope my voice is clearly audible. You can, let's say, simply raise your hands to confirm this. All right. All right. So let's proceed ahead. All right. So guys, I've already informed that I'll be taking your doubts from time to time, right? This is to maintain the flow of the session. All right. So if you have asked any doubt which is left unanswered, please wait for the right time. I'll be addressing your doubts from time to time. Right. Moving on with the 75th percentile, this is called the third quartile. Right. So this is the third quartile, and 50th percentile or the second quartile, we have special term called median. What is a median? Median is a statistical term that represents the middle value in a sorted data. Sorted is important because you have to sort the data first, and then only you can calculate the median of the data sets. All right, this is nothing but the middle value. If someone asks you what is the middle value in the data, you simply calculate the median of the data, and the value that you'll be getting after that will be the median of the data set. All right, this is again one of the most important terms in descriptive statistics. All right, so basically, just to give you an overview one more time, like how in percentiles, percent basically means dividing anything into 100 parts. Dividing anything into 100 parts is called percent, right? So when we divide into 100 intervals, it is called percentile. At the same time, quart in simple terms means 4 parts, right? I'm sure everyone is aware that we have like uni, bi, tri, quart, pent, like this, right? So uni basically means 1, bi means 2, tri means 3, quart means 4, pent means 5, hex means 6, right? So these are the terms, right? So quartile has been derived from that particular part only, where quart basically means you divide into 4 equal intervals, right? The intervals can be equal, cannot be equal. This purely depends on the frequency, and this purely depends on the data that you have. All right. So when you divide your data into 4 parts, each part is called a quartile, right? So this is exactly what we are talking about in here, right? And the trademarks are 25th percentile is your first quartile, 50th percentile is your second quartile, 75th percentile is your third quartile, and 100th percentile is basically your fourth quartile. Right? And minimum value is the 0th quartile. It is 0th percentile and 0th quartile at the same time. Right? So I hope this part is clear to everyone. You can, let's say, simply raise your hands to confirm this, if you are able to understand what we are discussing in today's session. All right, great. All right, so let's proceed ahead and see the implementation of this in Excel. All right, so yes, this has already, I've already told you that median is the middle value of the data, right? Okay, so one of you here is asking about the difference between percent and percentiles again. Okay, see, basically, what is the difference between percent and percentile, right? The outliers we'll be discussing in data analysis and machine learning, right? It's an abstract concept in machine learning. Without the data and without the analysis of the data, you'll not be able to understand what is an outlier, right? Which is why we'll be discussing it in your data analysis with Python and machine learning with Python, right? Now, okay, one of you here is asking basically the difference between percent or the percentage and percentile, right? I'm sure everyone is well aware what is a percentage. Percentage is basically fraction of a whole. Fraction of whole, right? So for example, let's say right? So for example, let's say you appeared in an exam which is of 200 marks, right? You're appearing in an exam which is of 200 marks total, and you scored, let's say, 120 marks out of 100. Out of 200, right? So what percentage of marks did you get? You can simply divide 120 by 200 and simply multiply this by 100. You'll get the output in percent, right? So this 100 into 2 is 200, right? And 2 into 60, right? So this is nothing but 60%. You got 60% marks when you scored 120 out of 200. At the same time, let's say in the same exam, let's say 1000 students appeared, right? In the same exam, 1000 students appeared, and you want to know, let's say if you scored 120, what percentile your score falls into. I'll simply write this, what percentile your score falls into, right? So for this, there's a simple method, right? How to calculate percentiles? Small n by capital N into 100. Simple, right? Where small n is the total number of students who have scored less than 120, right? Because this is your marks. Total number of students who scored less than 120. Let's say we have some 800 students who scored less than 120, right? Divided by the total number of students, which is 1000, right? So I'll simply write 1000 here and I'll multiply this by 100, right? So 100 into 10 is 1000 and 10 into 80 is 800, right? So your score falls into 80th percentile. This is the basic difference between percentage and percentiles. All right. So I hope this part is clear. All right. So guys, I can see a few of you are asking doubts related to outliers. So since outliers is not discussed yet, right? I've just gave you this information that you can detect outliers from percentiles, right? And this is the percentiles that we are discussing as of now, right? So this is just an example that we have taken, right? I've already informed the small n. Let us assume that 800 students scored less than 120 marks. Let us assume, right? So when we are assuming, this is just an assumption. This could be any value purely based on the actual data. All right. So yes, basically this is purely for conceptual understanding, guys. The percentiles, percentage, what we are seeing on pen and paper, nobody is going to ask you to calculate percentiles and percentage on pen and paper. This is just for the conceptual understanding. In machine learning, in data science, conceptual understanding is everything, right? Let's say if I tell you, right? So let's say if I tell you, let's say you go to your HR, those who are working professionals, you'll be able to relate this. Let's say simply go to your HR team or simply go to whoever your reporting HR is and simply ask them what percentile, right? Simply ask what percentile my salary falls into. All right, simply ask your HR. Simply ask your HR about this, what percentile my salary falls into, right? Your HR will come up with a number. Let's say he or she will tell you that your salary falls into 45th percentile. What does this mean? This basically means 45% of employees are receiving less salary than you. All right. And 100 minus 45 is 55% of employees are receiving more salary than you. More salary than you. All right. So this is the simplest form of an example that will help you to relate the concepts of percentiles, right? Those who are working professionals, I'll just give you, simply go to your HR team and ask about this, what percentile my salary falls into, right? They'll be able to come up with a number, right? This is again just an assumption. This is an assumption. All right, this value could be anything. If you're working at an executive level, this value can fall down up till maybe 15 or 20%, right? Or 20th percentile, basically. If you're working at a manager level or more higher level, maybe some of you might be, VPs of your respective teams, your salary might go up to as high as maybe 75th or 80th percentile, right? These are just assumptions that we are taking. Actual figure, your HR team will tell you about it. All right, now let's proceed ahead with the discussions of the same. Let's see the implementation of this in Excel. All right, so basically, I'll be taking a particular data, right? And this data I'll share with you on a GitHub link, right? This is the sample data that we are discussing, right? This data basically contains 1,000 rows. All right, this data contains 1,000 records. In simple terms, we call them as records, right? So as you can see, a few of the rows contains these hashtags here, right? So if you simply, let's say, expand this, you'll be able to see the content of this, right? So please do not come up with these doubts that you're seeing hashtags and so on in Excel sheets, right? So what I'll do here is I'll give you an overview about this data, what exactly this data is by inserting a row, and I'll name each of these. So this is basically your employee ID, right? This is the name of the employee, right? This is basically the designation of the employee, whether he's a manager or senior manager or maybe a senior analyst or an analyst, right? So this is basically maybe the designation. All right. Now, IT, finance, sales, accounting, these are basically the department in which this employee works, right? This is R&D, manufacturing, specialty products, and manufacturing corporates, etc. These are nothing but the business unit, right? This is basically the gender of the employee. This is the ethnicity. This is the ethnicity to which the employee belongs to, right? So those who are not able to understand the term ethnicity, this is basically the race of the employee, right? Next is, this is the age of the employee. All right. Moving ahead, this is the joining date of this employee. All right. Now here, this is the salary employee receives, right? This is the percentage of hike this particular employee got in the last hike season. So this is basically, let's say, hike. All right. Now this is the country of residence. This is the city of residence. And finally, this is the resignation date of the employee. Right. So these are, this is basically the data set. All right. What I'll do here is I'll select the complete data. I'll go to home here, right? Sorry, I'll go to insert here and I'll click on this table, right? You can directly do this by selecting the complete data and press Control and T, which is a shortcut, right? So all these shortcuts, you can explore the official documentation of Excel to explore about. All right, so I'll simply format it as table, right? So I'll click OK here, and this is formatted as a table, right? So based on this, I can basically filter out the data. This is the only feasibility that I have. Let's say I want to filter out only people from maybe the IT department. I'll simply click here, right? I'll unselect everything. I'll select only the IT department, right? I'll click OK. All the data of the employees belonging to the IT department has been filtered out, right? You can check the row number here, 1, 2, 3, 4 is missing. Then we have 5, 6, 7 is missing, 8. And then after that, we have 20, we have 24, and so on, right? So few of the data has been filtered out, right? This is basically purely based on the department that we have selected, right? So this is basically sorting, filtering, and everything. I'll simply clear filters from department, right? So this is in a feasibility of maybe, applying the. All right. So this is basically the feasibility that you get after formatting any data as a table, right? Now, let's learn about the percentiles, since we very recently discussed about percentiles, right? Let's explore this. Right, so let's explore this. Let's explore the salary column. Let's focus only on the salary column, right? Because I'm sure everyone understands that minimum and maximum values, the statistical concepts can only be applied on the numerical data. You cannot find percentage in ethnicity column because it is text form of data, right? So guys, I've already informed, I'll be sharing this data with you by the end of the session today. All right, please do not panic. Have patience. I'll share this data with everyone in the live session itself. All right, you'll have this access to the complete data that we are discussing in this particular session. All right, and we are going to carry out our discussions on various topics and concepts using this data only. All right, now let's focus only on the salary column. All right, so we'll simply pick a cell here. Let's say we are exploring the salary column. All right, now let's find the minimum value. Minimum value is basically nothing but the minimum salary any employee, or what is the minimum salary that is received by any employee, right? So there's directly a function called MIN. MIN basically returns the smallest number in a set of values. It ignores all the logical values and text. Right? If you go through, right? So if you go through this, it clearly says it returns the smallest number in a set of values. This is the minimum function. Let's execute this. Let's pass the complete salary column here. Right? Let's close this bracket and execute it. So 40,063 is the minimum salary any employee is receiving. All right. Now, the second thing is, let's find the maximum salary, right? So there's again a function called MAX. MAX basically returns the largest value in the set of values. So let's execute this. Again, let's pass the complete salary column. And if I execute this, this is the this is basically $258,498 any employee is receiving, and this is the highest salary any employee is receiving in this particular organization. All right. Now, moving on. These are the minimum and maximum values, right? This is calculated using minimum function. This is calculated using maximum function. Now, to calculate the minimum salary, we also have a function called small function. What does a small function do? It will return you the kth smallest number. Let's say if you want to find out what is the second lowest salary any employee is receiving, we can use the small function there, right? So if I, let's say, small function, it clearly says it returns the kth smallest value in the data set. For example, fifth smallest number, right? So let's say I want to find out what is the second lowest salary any employee is receiving. I'll simply call the small function. Here I have to pass two inputs. First is array. Array is basically the range of, or basically the list of values. So here my salary column will be the array followed by a comma. Now I have to pass the value of k. K is basically the kth smallest value. Let's say I want to find out the second smallest salary received in the organization. So I'll simply pass the value of k as 2. This will return me the smallest salary or second smallest salary or second lowest salary received. Right? So you can simply see 40,124 is the second lowest salary received in this organization. Right? At the same time, if you use the small function with the value of k as 1, so this will be the first lowest salary, which is equivalently equal to the minimum salary received. Right? So let's see this. So let me insert a cell here. Right? So let's say here we are using the min and max functions. Right? In the next, we will be using small function. And we also use something called a large function. Right? So let's use the small function here. Right? Let's use a small function here. And this small function will simply pass array. So my array will be the salary column again, followed by a comma. Let's say I want to find the first smallest salary. I'll pass the value of k as 1. Right? I'll close this bracket. This will return me the first smallest salary, which is equivalently equal to the lowest salary, or basically the minimum salary received by any employee. Right? So if I execute this, I'll eventually get the same value as we were getting from the minimum function. Right? So this is how small function can be used. All right. Now, and like how we have the small function to calculate kth smallest number, in the similar way, we have large functions that will help us to find out the kth largest number, right? So let's say I'll be using the large function here, and large number, if you go through the doc string, it clearly says it returns the kth largest value in the data set. For example, the fifth largest number, right? So let's say I want to find the first largest number, right? So I'll simply use the large function. Here also I have to pass two values. First is array. Array is basically the set of values that you have. So I'm working on the salary column since I'm exploring only the salary column here. So I'll pass my salary column as the array of data. Next, the second thing is I have to pass the value of k. Now let's say I want to find the first largest salary. I'll simply use the value of k as 1. With the large function, this is going to return me the first largest salary, or this is equivalently equal to the maximum salary received in the organization, right? So we are getting the same values by using these functions, and this is the maximum salary, right? So these are the two ways. Let's say if you want to find out the fifth largest salary, you simply use the large function, simply use the large function, pass the salary column as input, and pass the value of k as maybe 5. This will be the fifth largest salary, right? So this is $256,561 any student is, any employee is receiving in this organization, right? So I hope the small and large functions and minimum and maximum functions are clear to everyone. You can simply raise your hands to confirm this. All right, great. So we'll be proceeding ahead. All right, so here I will give you a homework. All right, so your homework is you have to find, let's say the first homework is you have to find the first, second, third, fourth, fifth, 10th, 15th, 18th, 19th, 21st, 32, 43 largest and smallest salary received by the employees. All right, this is your first homework. All right, to select, there's basically no shortcut to select a row or column. Simply go to the column name here, right? You can simply click on the column name, right, which is A, B, C, D, E. These are your column index numbers, and 1, 2, 3, 4. These are your row index numbers, right? You can simply click on this and select the complete row or complete column like this, right? Now, your second homework is you have to find the lowest. You have to find the youngest and the eldest employee in the organization. All right. So basically, just to give you this idea, I have to work on the age column for this, right? Youngest basically is the person with the smallest age, and eldest is basically the person with the largest age, right? And here you have to use both, let's say, using both min and small. Right? You have to use both min and small functions, and you have to use the max and large functions to calculate the same output. Right? Your third homework is you have to find the maybe second youngest employee, right? Fourth is you have to maybe find the fourth eldest employee, right? Basically, you have to find the age, right? Not the name of the employee, just the age, what age the person belongs to, who is fourth eldest in the organization, or what is the age of the employee who is the second youngest employee in the organization. All right. So these are a few homeworks based on minimum maximum functions that we have discussed. Let's proceed ahead. All right. So guys, please take maybe 2 minutes of break, and then we'll proceed ahead with the discussions. We'll carry forward this discussion. All right. So please take maybe 2 minutes of break, and then we'll proceed ahead. All right, guys. So let's proceed ahead now with the discussions of percentiles. Right. So just for calculating, we'll find the difference of every 5 percentile, right? So we'll find 0th, 5th, 10th, 15th, and so on up till 100th percentile. Right. And to calculate the percentile, again, we directly have a formula here. Right. We directly have a formula called percentile.inc, right? This returns the kth percentile of values in a range where k will be in the range of 0 to 1, right? This basically means I have to provide the value of k between 0 and 1, right? So let's say if you have the values from 0 to 100, and if you want to simply input this value into the range of 0 to 1, how this can be done is basically I'll divide every value of percentile with 100. Right? So let's see this. We have percentile.inc. This is the first input that we have to provide, which is the array. So array here, I'll again provide the salary column. Since starting, we are working on the salary column only, right? So this is the first input, which is the array. Second is the value of k, right? So the value of k that I have to provide it in fraction. Let's say I have to provide between 0 and 1, right? So I'll simply provide the reference of the cell containing the value, which is 0 here. I'll divide this by 100. Close the bracket and I'll execute this. Now, if you look closely, 0th percentile basically is representing the minimum value in the data, right? This is the same value 40,063, which is the minimum value in the data, which we found out using the min function. This represents the 0th percentile, right? At the same time, let's say if I want to find the 5th percentile, I'll simply use the percentile formula. I'll input the salary column as array of data. Now I have to provide the value of k. So here I'll simply provide, since I have to find the 5th percentile, but while providing the value of k, I have to provide this value between 0 and 1, right? So I'll simply divide this by 100, right? So this will be 0.05, the value of k. If I execute this, this is the 5th percentile value. Right? In the similar way, I'll provide all other values, and these are the respective values of the data, right? So this will be up till 100. All right. So if I execute this, you will see closely that 100th percentile value, which is 258,498, is the maximum value in the data. Right? So this is how we can provide the value of percentiles. All right. And if you remember, I just mentioned that if you have to provide any percentile value, you simply have to, the output of the percentile will not be beyond the range of the data, right? When I say beyond the range of the data, this basically means that here, this basically means the range of the data is starting from 40,063, which is the minimum value here, right? And it is going up till 258,498. And this is nothing but this is the maximum value in the data. So this is the range of your data. All right. So this is the range of the data, and any percentile value that you'll calculate will not go beyond this range. Let's say if you find 95th percentile, this will fall into this range only. This will not go beyond 258,498, right? If you see here, 95th percentile value is 223,000. It's 223,072.5. All right. So basically, this is the range of the data into which any percentile value will fall. All right. So this will basically help you to analyze the data. Right. Percentiles are one of the most important concepts. Those are used for the analysis of the data. Be it you're analyzing it on maybe Excel, or you're analyzing the same on maybe Python, right? So the analysis of the data will remain same. The concepts will remain same. Only the implementation method is different, right? All right. So I'll just repeat this one more time. All right. I'll just repeat this one more time. Here, what we are trying to do is we are trying to calculate the percentile values, and these are the respective values that we are getting against every percentile, right? So for the 0th percentile, we are getting 40,063, which is nothing but it is the minimum value in the data, right? When we are finding the 5th percentile, this is the value that we are getting, which is 49,721.3, right? This is the 5th percentile value. Now, if we look, let's take 30th percentile value. All right, 30th percentile value is 75,776.7. So what can be derived from this, or what information can be extracted from this, is there are basically 30% employees who are receiving salary less than 75,776.7. Right? And there are 70% employees who are receiving salary more than this. Right? So there are 30% employees receiving salary less than this value, and 70% employees receiving salary less than this value. Right? This is the information, or this is the insights that can be extracted from this analysis. Right? You will get to perform these kind of analysis almost on every data set to understand what your data is trying to convey, right? These are the statistical methods to understand the data, right? And these are only applicable on numerical form of data. These are only applicable on numerical form of data, since calculations are involved, right? Arithmetic calculations are involved. Hence, only numerical data will be able to get through this. You will not be able to perform this on text form of data. For example, let's say if you want to use percentiles on the ethnicity column, in this particular column, if you want to apply percentiles, this is not feasible. All right. So basically, here I'm dividing the value of k by 100, because if you, right, here we are dividing the value of k by 100, because if you see the formula for k, right, if you see the formula for calculating the percentiles, it clearly says that you have to pass the value of k between 0 and 1, right? But we are calculating this between 0 to 100. So how, if you, let's say, apply simple logic, right? Simply apply a simple logic, how you can simply calculate the values from 0 to 100, and you have to provide the input between 0 and 1, right? It will not accept the value more than 1 or less than 0. So here, what I can do is I'll simply divide it by the maximum number. So maximum number is 100. I'll divide this by 100 and this by 100. So every value in between this will be divided by 100, and eventually I'll get the values in the range between 0 and 1. Right? So this is how, this is the exact reason why we are dividing 5 by 100, 10 by 100, 15 by 100, 20 by 100, and so on. Right? Because the value of k has to be between 0 and 1. Right? So I hope this part is clear to everyone. Now moving on. Okay, one of you is asking your 0th percentile value should be 0. As I've already mentioned, 0th percentile value will be the minimum value in your data. It will not be 0 always. All right. And let me explain this one more time. Let's take 20th percentile value, for instance. So we are getting 67,254.2. This is the value that we are getting against 20th percentile. What information does this convey? This is conveying that 20% employees are receiving less salary than 67,254, and 80% employees are receiving more salary than 67,254.2. Right? In the similar way, any percentile value that you can take here will be conveying the same information, right? For example, let's say if we take 70th percentile, right? So 70th percentile is 133,327.9. This basically says 70% employees are receiving less salary than 133,327, and 30% employees are receiving more salary than this. All right. So in simple terms, array is the set of values that you want to pass as input. Right? So array is the set of values that you want to pass as input. All right, so moving ahead. All right, so moving ahead. These are the percentiles here. Now your homework on this will be you have to basically calculate the percentiles for every value with a difference of 0.5, right? So for example, you have to find out the percentiles at the values of 0th percentile, 0.5, 5th percentile, 1st percentile, 1.5th percentile, 2 percentile, and so on, go up till 98 percentile, right? 98.5, 99, 99.5, and 100, right? Calculate all these percentiles in the Excel sheet. Right, and this is for the salary column. All right, now your 6th homework is you have to find the percentiles of maybe every value with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, and so on up till 98, 99, and 100th percentile on age column. All right, so this is your homework on percentiles. All right. So you can use the same concept here or the same formula that I'm using here to calculate the percentiles. Right. Moving ahead, let's calculate the quartiles. Right. If we go on calculating the quartiles here, right, if we go on calculating the quartiles here, we can basically calculate 5 quartile values. First is 0th quartile, then first quartile, which is 25th percentile, second quartile, which is 50th percentile, third quartile, which is 75th percentile, and fourth quartile, which is 100th percentile, right? So there's again a direct formula called quartile.inc, right? This returns the quartile of a data set based on percentile values from 0 to 1, right? So if I execute this, I have to pass the array first. So this the complete salary column that I'm passing, and you have to pass the value of quart, right? So these are the references that is given. You can simply use the value as the quart value as 0. If you want to find the minimum value, you can use the value of quart as 1. If you want to find the 25th percentile, you can use the value of quart as 2. If you want to find the 50th percentile or the median value, in the similar way, you can use the value of quart as 3 if you want to find out the third quartile or the 75th percentile. In the similar way, you can use the value of quart as 4 if you want to find the maximum value in the data, right? So since we want to find the 0th quartile, I'll simply use the value of quart as 0. This will give me the 0th quartile or 0th percentile value. This is nothing but the minimum value in the data. In the similar way, I can also find the quartile value on 25th percentile, which is nothing but the first quartile value, right? Again, I'll pass this complete salary column as input. The value of quart that I'm going to pass is, since I want to find the 25th percentile or the first quartile value, right? These are the milestones in percentiles, right? So I'll be using the value of quart as 1, right? I'll be using the value of quart as 1. This will return me the 25th percentile value, right? If you see here, this is the percentile formula that we have used. In the similar way, if you see here, this is the quartile formula that we have used, and we are getting the same output because in quartiles, we are dividing the complete data into 4 parts, but in percentiles, we are dividing the complete data into 100 parts, right? These could be equal, these cannot be equal, the intervals, right? The intervals can be equal, the intervals cannot be equal. This purely depends, right? This purely depends on the frequency of every value that you are having in the data, right? Moving ahead, let's find out the second quartile value. Again, I'll use the quartile function here. I'll have to pass the array as input, which is my salary column. I have to pass the value of quart as 2 because I want to find the second quartile, or which is equivalently equal to the 50th percentile of the data, right? So if I execute this, I'm getting the same value again, which I'm getting for the 50th percentile, right? Moving ahead, we'll also calculate the third quartile value by simply using the same function, passing this salary column as input and passing the value of quart as 3. This will give me the third quartile value or the 75th percentile value. So here also we are getting the same values. Now finally, I can also find the maximum value as the fourth quartile value it will simply use the quartile function here, pass in the salary column and the value of k as 4. This will give me the maximum value or the 100th percentile data. All right. So this is how quartiles can be defined, and this is how you can find the quartile values. Right. So, all right, guys, please take again 2 minutes of break and then we'll proceed ahead further. All right, guys. So let's proceed ahead with the discussions of median here. Right. So just to give you an overview, we first calculated the percentiles here using the percentile.inc function in Excel. Right. We discussed about the percentiles.inc function. Right. And then we calculated the quartiles using the quartile.inc function. And now we are going to proceed ahead with calculating the median using the median function, which is nothing but the 50th percentile value. All right. So now we are going to proceed ahead with discussing about the median function. All right. We'll calculate median or the 50th percentile using the median function. And then we here directly have median function in Excel. You can directly execute this, right? If you want to read about the docstring here, simply read, it returns the median or the number in the middle of the set of given numbers, right? The only thing that you have to keep in mind or keep in note while calculating the median is, if you're calculating it manually, you'll have to sort the data first. Sorting can be in any order, be it ascending or descending, does not matter. Middle value will remain as it is, right? So if you're calculating using any of the analytical tools, it is purely the median function that can be used here, right? So let's execute this. I have to pass the numbers, right? So I'll simply pass the complete salary column here. I'll close this bracket and I'll press enter. So this is the median value that we are getting using the median function. All right. So this is equal to the 50th percentile or the second quartile value. Right. So yes, this is the part we had to discuss today. I'll give you the homework once again, right? So you have to basically find the median of the age column using percentiles, quartiles, and the median function. All right. Next thing is you have to find the quartiles for the age column, right? You have to find all the quartiles for the age column. Right. So guys, this particular Excel sheet that we are working on, I'll share this Excel sheet once your Excel sessions are over, right? I'll upload it on GitHub and share the GitHub link with you, right? So for this particular data set, I'll share this data set explicitly by the end of today's session, right? So just have to bear until the end of the session to receive the GitHub link. All right, I'll just explain the median part one more time. So here, basically, we are using the median function in Excel, right? And this median function basically calculates the middle value in any given data sets, right? So the sorting of the data is happening internally. You don't have to do it manually, right? Which is why the functions are more feasible. They comes with more functionalities in any analytical tools, right? So Excel is one of the analytical tools. You'll be performing the data analysis using Python as well. The concept will remain same, only the implementation is different. Right? So here we are using the median function and we are passing the complete salary column. Right? So my salary column is in the J index column in the Excel sheet here, right? Which is why I'm passing the complete J column as input to get the median of the salary column. Right? So this is everything about median, quartiles, percentiles, minimum value, maximum value, small functions, and large functions. All right. So just to give you an overview, what we discussed today is we started with the minimum function followed by the maximum function. All right. So I'll just give you a description here. This defines the minimum value in the data. Max function defines the maximum value in the data. Right. Then we discussed about the small function. The small function gives you the kth smallest value in the data again, right? So this could be like the 5th smallest value or 6th smallest value. In the contrast, we discussed about the large functions. It gives you the kth largest value in the data, right? So this could be like the 2nd highest, 3rd highest, or 4th highest value. Followed by, we discussed about percentiles. So percentiles basically gives you the kth percentile value. All right. And you have to keep one thing in mind, that the value of k will be in the range of 0 to 1. This basically means you have to divide every number with the highest value, which is 100th percentile, right? Not the 100th percentile value, but simply divide any kth percentile that you want to calculate by 100. For example, let's say if you want to find out 20th percentile, simply divide 20 by 100, and the value of k that will be passed in the formula for calculating the 20th percentile will be 0.2. Right? Then we discussed about the quartiles here. Quartiles basically gives you the kth quartile value, right? Kth quartile value basically is when you divide your complete data set into 4 parts. This 4 parts can be 4 equal intervals, and it cannot be 4 equal intervals. This purely depends on what kind of data you're working on. Every data set is different, right? Hence, you have to keep hold of the concept, right? And the concept is quart basically means 4, and you have to divide your complete data set into 4 parts, right? And finally, we discussed about the median. Median basically returns the middle value of the data, right? So whatever data you pass in, it will simply give you the middle value of the data, all right? Now, since we still have time left, we'll discuss about the mean as well. What mean basically tells you is it will give you the average value of the data that you pass in, right? So how mean can be calculated? I'll simply write this here. Mean is nothing but the average of all the salaries. Let's say if I ask you what is the average salary in this particular data set, so we'll simply use the average function. Average function returns the average or the arithmetic mean of whatever has been passed as input, right? So if I execute this, let me pass the complete salary column here. These are the numbers of which I want the average, and this returns 113,214.4. So this is the average salary of an employee in this particular organization, right? Moving ahead, we'll also discuss about the mode. Mode basically returns you the most frequent occurring value. Most frequently occurring value, right? And how mode can be calculated? We directly have mode function, right? So we'll simply use mode.sngl, right? if you go through the docstring of this, it returns the most frequently occurring or repetitive value in the array or range of data. If I execute this, if I pass the salary column here, right? So 146,140 is the salary that most of the employees are having, right? We'll also find out how many employees are there who are receiving this figure of salary, which is 146,140, when we'll discuss about the count functions, right? So we'll discuss on more on this, like how many employees are receiving this particular salary, which is mode of the data, right? This will discuss when we'll discuss about the count function, right? How count can be applied based on a condition, right? So we'll discuss this in the next session itself. All right, so okay, one of you is saying the median formula used. So median formula is, this is directly the median formula that we are using, right? You can simply check the formula bar here. Simply median is the name of the formula, right? And we are passing the complete salary column as input, right? So this will give us the middle value in the complete data set. All right. So yes, guys, this is all that we are going to discuss in today's session. Now, please stay for at least 5 more minutes. I'll share the GitHub link of this particular data set with everyone so that you can access this data and do the homework that has been provided, right? Meanwhile, you can take the screenshot of the homework so that you get to know what exactly has to be solved as a part of your homework, right? So just give me 2 minutes. I'll upload the data on GitHub and share the GitHub link with everyone, right? Please do not leave the session. Otherwise, you'll miss out on the link that I'm going to share in next 5 minutes. All right, guys. So I've shared this link in the chat section. I hope everyone has received the link. Can you please raise your hands if you have received the link that I've shared? It's a GitHub link that contains the data set. All right. And just to inform everyone, the homework that I'm providing you during the live session, there is absolutely no kind of submission that is required. The questions that I'm giving you, I'll be discussing the solution of this in the next session in the initial 5-10 minutes, right? So there is no submission required. It is for self-evaluation. You can simply check the part of the homework that you have done, and the solution of the same I'll be discussing in the next session. There is no submission required for these homeworks. All right. So yes, guys, that was all for today's session. I'll be waiting for 5 minutes more. If any one of you are left out with any doubt on the topics that we have discussed today, you're free to ask in the chat section. And if let's say any one of you do not have any doubts, you're free to leave the session. We are not going to discuss any new topic now. Right? So if you have any doubts, you can simply ask your doubt in the chat section. So yesterday we did not discuss any new topic, right? Yesterday we faced some technical glitch due to which we purely conducted a doubt clearing session, right? No new topic was discussed in yesterday's session. Right, so I've already provided the link. Let me just share this one more time. All right, and let me just display the homework that you have to do. All right, so simply download the data from GitHub. Once you click on the file. All right, so let me just show you this demonstration as well, how you're going to access the file from GitHub. All right, so let's say this is the link that I've shared with everyone. You simply go to this link, and this is the page that will be opened. Right, so once this page is opened, you simply click on this employee data.xlsx file. Right, once you click on this, you'll see an option to download this file. Right, you will see an option to download this file. I hope everyone is able to locate this particular option that clearly says download. Simply click on this and you'll be able to download this Excel sheet in your local system. Once you're able to download this, simply open it in Excel and you can proceed ahead with solving your homework. Right, so this is how you can download the this particular sheet that I've shared with you in your local system and proceed ahead with doing the homework. Right, so all right. Okay, so let me just show you this. Let's say after clicking on this download option, you'll see a file being downloaded, right? So this is the file that is downloaded in your system. Once you click on this file, this will be opened in Excel sheet. All right. Now, the second option is maybe there could be some glitch while accessing the GitHub. So what can be done is you simply go back to this particular folder here, right? This is the link that I've shared with you. You see this code option highlighted in green, right? Here, you simply click on this and click on download zip. Click on download zip, right? So once you click on download zip, a zip file will be downloaded in your system, right? So once this zip file is downloaded, let's say I'll show you, let's say if I click on download zip, a zip file is downloaded into your system, right? You see this zip file downloaded. Simply extract this file or extract content of this file, right? Once you extract the content of this file, this Excel sheet will be available in your system, right? So once you have this Excel sheet, you are free to proceed ahead with solving the homework. All right, so this is the second way how you can download files from GitHub. Either you can download a zip file or you can directly download this Excel sheet using the download option. Right, so this is how you're going to download this particular file in your local system. All right, so the homework is being displayed in your screen as of now. This is the homework. You can take the screenshot of this, right? This is not available in the Excel sheet that I've shared with you, right? You can take the screenshot of this. And once you take the screenshot, the Excel sheet contains only data, right? Your Excel sheet that is shared on GitHub contains only data, right? Only data. These are the questions. You simply take the screenshot of questions. All right, simply take the screenshot of questions and the data set is available on GitHub, right? The GitHub link is already shared with you. All right, so let me share this one more time. Let me share the GitHub link one more time with everyone so that you do not miss out on accessing the data. All right, and please keep this GitHub link intact with you because I'm going to upload all the assignments based on the topics that we are going to discuss in Excel sessions in this particular GitHub link only. All right, so please keep this intact, bookmark it in your web browser. This will help you to access it very quickly. Right, so the homework screen, let me just share the homework part. Okay, so the homework is being displayed in your screen as of now. You can simply take the screenshot of this. All right, so I've already shared the instructions to download the data from GitHub, right? There are two ways I've already demonstrated. You can follow either of them to get the access of the data. All right, guys. So with this note, we are going to end today's session. And before we end, let me just give you an overview what we are going to discuss in next session. We are going to discuss about the logical conditions. First, we are going to discuss about the logical operators. Then we are going to discuss about the logical conditions. All right, how conditions can be applied to analyze the data. All right, so these are the two topics that we are going to discuss in next session. If you wish to prepare If you wish to see anything, any external link related to it, you can follow the same procedure that I've demonstrated in the first session itself, how you're going to search anything on the platforms like Medium and towards data science. All right. So with this note, we are wrapping up the session for today. And thank you everyone for joining this session. And good night, everyone.